some specific questions on stuff that the chairman hasn't asked. You get a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. Thank you so much for this. But the question that I have pertains to something that you mentioned earlier, the school shootings. 26 of the last 28 school shootings were done by a person that came from a broken family, primarily a fatherless family. You talked about children with Down syndrome as, you know, your own son, children who need their parents and often that are forcefully separated from them through unilateral divorce, no-fault divorce. And in the 14th Amendment, we're supposed to be given due process, we're supposed to be given equal protection, and yet you go into a place where your legal status can be forcefully changed upon you, you can lose access to your children. In the 14th Amendment, it says the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of Amendment 14. What can we do to help stop at a federal level what takes place? And you know, you talked about the school shooting. What's happening there is the result of a longer-term problem. We need to have a longer-term solution. And when you have a situation where 80% of the divorces that take place are against the will of one person and forced divorces, then it breaks down the family. It seems to me like we have to do something at a federal level, not just at a state level.
Yeah, there are a huge number of important decisions and monies and
Title 4D?
Yeah, where the story that's being told is, and it's because we as men do recognize the important part of a mother and a child. And we tend to err on the side, as do courts, as do we in our mind. But that should not mean that a man is not entitled to equal. Dallas County a few years ago went through a number of terrible shootings. And I gathered together they were at the time Republican district judges, and I said, guys, men, women, we've now had, I think, 4 or 5 shootings. One was from a big-time guy in Highland Park who went and killed his wife. I mean, just gunned her down. And that was because the judge was unfair. And the woman was unfair. And she demanded something, and he was out. And it was frustration. So we now go through in the court system, and unfortunately lives have to be lost or there has to be tragedy. There now is a better system. They used to go through they used to go through the judge, now they go through a master that's always available, or should be available, to where you can go to your lawyer can say, hey, this thing's happening, that's not fair, and the master can make a decision for the court, where you don't have to go in open court and do all this stuff.
Right, but it really doesn't happen that way. The honest truth is it does not happen that way.
I do recognize it's a problem. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing we're learning out of this shooting is, you go to Santa Fe High School now, those parents, they're going to be held legally responsible for what their son did. And you're a dad, we're dads, I'm a dad. I went through my son. We had a party at the house one night. I get it.
Yeah.
Where if somebody had a problem leaving there, I could be held legally responsible. I mean, I was there. It wasn't like I was gone and I was there. Whew. I turned gray overnight.
That would have happened.
The reality is that in these courts right now, and the way that our laws are made up, one person, for any reason, for no reason, can say, I want to change your legal status, I want to forcefully divorce you, and well, what did I do? Nothing. I've met somebody new. And by the way, I'm going to make a complaint against you, so that I have a restraining order against you, so that I actually get the kids. It's horrendous what goes on. And you start talking about the breakdown of the family, and you watch kids that are seeing this, and you're telling me they aren't learning that violence and other stuff and lying and fraud are not okay because our legal system and the laws in the state of Texas allow it?
Well, no.
No, actually they do.
Well, I got custody of my daughter, but here again,
You're the exception.
If a person is going to lie about something,
perjury does not get prosecuted. Period.
Well,
that is the reality.
Yeah.
That is the reality.
You know what? I'll be glad.
I know, it's offline
that's
here.
good. No, I'm ill-prepared for this.
I got you.
This
is
is
a
by
state
and
issue.
large a real-life question. I'm not trying to put it off on Cindy. You said there's a federal component. I did acknowledge a federal
Right.
component because of money. I remember giving to Greg Abbott. I remember giving to John Cornyn, and he touted how many deadbeat dads. But I'll tell you, there's also at least one example of a deadbeat dad that paid $19,000 a month.
Yeah,
Because he got railroaded. He got railroaded. He had I think, an aneurysm that precluded him from going to work for 7 months. He paid $19,000. He's paying everything he could. He had a big job. He was a lawyer. He could not go to work, and the judge put him in jail. They did not acknowledge
Loss of income.
loss of income.
that is common in Texas.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm aware. But I went back, he came to me and I said, you need to go to your state senator. I mean, I actually have no real content in it. I'm
Right.
not trying to, so I agree. But
Yeah.
I'm willing to go do this, but give me a chance to bone up on it.
One
Okay.
last thing.